don't blame the crown. On February 19, 2026, at Marlborough House, Princess Anne broke her silence. And it wasn't soft. Just 6 days after Buckingham Palace released one of its strongest public statements in years, Anne stepped forward with calm precision. No emotion, no hesitation, just clarity. Her message? The monarchy is not your scapegoat. In 10 chaotic days, Meghan Markle's commercial world had reportedly started unraveling across multiple countries and industries. Partnerships cooled, licenses faced scrutiny, headlines multiplied. But Anne made it clear that fallout wasn't the crown's doing. When asked about brands distancing themselves from "With Love Meghan," she didn't dodge. Her brand was built on positivity and accessibility, but it could never exist without royal varnish. Novelty fades, character stays. What we're seeing now is the unvarnished truth. Then she added, steady as ever, "Businesses invest in longevity, not disruption. Let's not pretend this is our doing." The room went silent. Days earlier, several international markets had reportedly reassessed commercial ties linked to Meghan's ventures. Regulatory reviews surfaced. Retail partners reconsidered placements. Then came Meghan's own video message claiming coordinated efforts were working to undermine her professionally. That statement shook the media cycle. Soon after, resurfaced 2016 images involving Prince Andrew reignited old controversy. Timing raised eyebrows. Palace officials refused to speculate publicly. Anne's response? Ice-cold composure. "It's no surprise when old ghosts resurface, but we are not responsible for explaining what another member of this family once tried to bury." She didn't defend Andrew. She didn't elaborate. She drew a boundary. Behind closed doors, the operational response was swift. James, Earl of Wessex, coordinated emergency briefings within 24 hours of Meghan's public remarks. Official schedules were clarified. Documentation released. Legal teams engaged. The strategy was simple: facts, structure, discipline. Any alleged recordings tied to Prince William were formally dismissed as fabricated or misrepresented. Legal notices were sent demanding retractions of claims described as defamatory. Privately, Anne reportedly told communications staff, "James can make a scandal disappear in 48 hours. No drums, no smoke." That line said everything. This wasn't emotion, it was containment. Anne's tone signaled a shift. The royal family wasn't scrambling anymore. It wasn't defending every headline. It was stepping back and letting distance speak louder than outrage. No dramatic press wars, no messy back and forth, just quiet institutional muscle. The message from Marlborough House was unmistakable. Stability beats spectacle. Institutions survive storms by staying steady. Brands built on momentum alone struggle when the noise fades. And in that moment, Princess Anne didn't just address a crisis. She closed the door on it. They're creating distance, enforcing accountability, and placing trust in the next generation to handle it with precision. And right at the center of that containment strategy stands Prince James of Edinburgh. But what truly escalated this crisis wasn't just public accusations. It was something buried deep inside a private 14-page marriage agreement between Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Clause 7. What made Clause 7 so explosive wasn't just its existence. It was how tightly it was written. Structured more like a corporate executive contract than a traditional royal agreement, the clause allegedly gave Meghan unilateral control over public statements regarding the marriage, both during the relationship and in the event of separation. It was reportedly drafted by an American law firm tied to her team. Palace lawyers are said to have never reviewed the final version. Even more significant, the clause reportedly carried enforceable authority in jurisdictions outside the UK, including California and parts of the Middle East, where Meghan had active business interests. In January 2026, following the February fallout between Meghan and Harry, the clause was allegedly activated. Suddenly, a wave of curated media stories, podcast commentary, and social media narratives painted Meghan as the isolated outsider and Harry as unstable. The messaging was sharp, calculated. The Palace Communications Office tried to respond, but legal threats followed. Cease and desist letters were reportedly sent to media outlets in both the UK and US, warning against contradicting the narrative defined under the clause. Princess Anne privately raised concerns to the Sovereign Council. In a memo, she allegedly wrote, "What we face is not freedom of speech, but weaponized narrative laundering. Clause 7 has turned every press appearance into a negotiation." Meanwhile, Harry reportedly began leaking private messages and audio clips from arguments. In one recording, Meghan is allegedly heard saying, "I'll make the world think you walked away from your family." That audio triggered fierce debate. Meghan's lawyers called it manipulated. Harry's legal team claimed verified chain of custody documentation. Behind closed doors, discussions began about whether existing marriage legislation should be updated to prevent future agreements from overriding UK institutional protections. Financial investigators also reportedly reviewed whether Clause 7 provided indirect access to revenue data from joint contracts signed during the marriage. Questions were raised about streaming income, publishing advances, and brand partnerships routed through private California-based companies. Crisis PR representatives linked to Meghan were reportedly subpoenaed for documentation related to brand protections and charitable spending structures. In a private meeting with King Charles and Prince Edward, Princess Catherine is said to have remarked, "This clause isn't about protection, it's about positioning. It secures the final word." Clause 7 has now become central to Harry's ongoing divorce litigation. Royal legal teams are petitioning California courts to invalidate it, arguing coercion and reputational damage. But in the court of public opinion, the phrase has already taken on a life of its own. Clause 7 is no longer just contract language, it's a warning. American tabloids have dubbed it the Duchess Clause. British royalists call it the Royal Gag Order. Legal scholars are now openly debating whether future royal marriages should require international arbitration panels. In less than 2 weeks, Clause 7 went from a buried footnote to one of the most controversial lines in modern Windsor history. Then the situation escalated. News broke that Meghan Markle had been subpoenaed to testify in an Epstein-related civil case involving Prince Andrew. Buckingham Palace shifted into strategic overdrive. The press office released a tight 3-sentence statement confirming awareness of the development, but refusing to comment on ongoing legal proceedings. Behind closed doors, senior legal advisors entered emergency consultations. According to court filings, Meghan's name had appeared in archived social records connected to high-profile fundraising events in the early 2000s. Before her marriage into the royal family, she attended several public events in New York and Florida, where Prince Andrew and Ghislaine Maxwell were also present. Meghan has previously stated she had no knowledge of Epstein's crimes and condemned his actions. However, legal teams now want clarification regarding past associations and correspondence tied to shared contacts. Leaked emails, allegedly dated 2015, reportedly referenced introductions within elite social circles. Those documents triggered intense media coverage on both sides of the Atlantic. On American networks, commentators debated whether Meghan had been unfairly drawn into a wider legal storm. In the UK press, coverage focused on reputational fallout for the monarchy. CNN's Anderson Cooper hosted a panel questioning the broader implications. Sky News aired a segment analyzing archived event guest lists from that era, but it was Prince Harry's reaction that intensified public scrutiny. Hours after the subpoena was confirmed, Harry posted, and quickly deleted, a black and white childhood photo of himself with Princess Diana captioned simply, "She warned me." Speculation exploded online. Was it directed at the media, the institution? The timing added tension to an already fragile situation. Sources close to the couple described Harry as frustrated and protective, particularly as business partnerships reportedly entered review following the legal development. One senior advisor connected to their foundation stepped down within 24 hours, further fueling headlines. Royal insiders disclosed that Prince William had been briefed months earlier that Meghan's name appeared in sealed court documents. He reportedly chose not to comment publicly. According to sources, Harry interpreted that silence as distance rather than strategy. Meanwhile, Meghan significantly reduced public appearances as legal preparations intensified. Prince Andrew's legal team issued a formal statement denying that Meghan's testimony would implicate him directly. However, they acknowledged that historic public events placed multiple high-profile figures in the same social settings. Palace officials quietly reopened internal archives of correspondence from that period. Reports indicate that previously unpublished photographs from a Palm Beach charity gala may be introduced during court proceedings. Inside Windsor, the atmosphere remains controlled but tense. Outside, the headlines continue to escalate. Princess Anne and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, were reportedly among the senior royals who urged King Charles III to consider stripping Meghan and Harry of their remaining honorary titles before institutional damage became irreversible. The message was urgent. The concern was real. But Charles hesitated. Ever cautious, he found himself balancing two risks: protecting the monarchy's long-term credibility while avoiding claims that the palace was silencing someone connected to an active legal case. That hesitation only added to the tension building behind palace gates. By the end of the week, headlines had shifted from royal rift to House of Sussex in free fall. Legal analysts debated whether Meghan would comply with the subpoena, seek special protections, or launch a public counterattack. But inside royal circles, one question echoed louder than the rest. What did she know, and when did she know it? Because if testimony went further than expected, the fallout would not stop at one name. At 9:43 a.m. on February 19, 2026, a digital folder labeled Balearic Archive 2016 surfaced across encrypted whistleblower platforms. Within minutes, its contents flooded social media feeds worldwide. Grainy but unmistakable photographs showed Prince Andrew aboard a luxury yacht off the coast of Majorca. But this wasn't recycled tabloid gossip. These images had never been publicly released. The yacht gathering was reportedly linked to a charitable foundation now under investigation for alleged financial misconduct and questionable lobbying activities tied to foreign entities. Andrew appeared relaxed, seated alongside three men later identified in reports as intermediaries connected to an Emirati-backed philanthropy group operating through shell offices in Monaco and Cyprus. Then came the detail that shifted everything. In the background of one photograph, initially blurred, stood a younger Meghan Markle. The timestamp read August 19, 2016. Palace communications teams scrambled, but Princess Anne chose a colder route: controlled disengagement. During a closed strategy session at Marlborough House, when pressed about the resurfaced yacht images, she responded without emotion. "We live in a time where the past is on speed dial. It is not surprising that hidden years return to the light. What surprises me is the assumption that the institution must now explain the secrets of individuals." She didn't mention Prince Andrew by name. She didn't have to. That wording drew a clean line between the institution and personal conduct. No panic, no public defense, just distance. Behind the scenes, her son, James, Earl of Wessex, activated internal review protocols through what aides quietly call the Palace Integrity Unit. His method? Clinical, structured, quiet. Financial links tied to the yacht's sponsoring foundation were reportedly cross-checked with previously flagged offshore accounts. Old audit trails resurfaced. Nothing loud, just paperwork, review, containment. What complicated matters was Meghan's presence in the broader timeline. Commentators began debating proximity and optics. Royal analyst Julian Keane put it bluntly: "This is no longer just about Andrew's history, it raises questions about timing and access." Anne refused to feed speculation. In a memo that later surfaced, she wrote, "The monarchy cannot operate in reaction to reputational aftershocks. We are not tasked with explaining rumors. We are tasked with sustaining standards." That's her style: minimal words, firm boundaries. Meanwhile, commercial fallout accelerated. LVMH stepped back from collaboration talks. Netflix paused development discussions tied to Meghan's brand. A Dubai-based foundation initiated internal reviews of joint initiatives. Outside Windsor, headlines hardened. Inside Windsor, the strategy stayed steady: document, review, distance. When approached near Windsor's horseshoe cloisters by Sky News and asked directly about the images, Anne paused briefly and said, "I think the images speak for themselves. If you're seeking outrage, direct it toward those still awaiting transparency." No theatrics, no spin. That statement was widely interpreted as final institutional separation from Andrew's controversies. Not explosive, just decisive. James mirrored that posture. According to briefing notes later referenced by The Telegraph, he was tasked with what aides described as reputational back-end processing. Translation? Remove vulnerabilities quietly. A full audit reportedly reviewed charitable entities linked to Andrew going back years. Safeguards were reinforced around other family members to prevent collateral damage. A palace memo confirmed that any royal involved in unregulated cross-border charitable activity would not receive formal communication support going forward. Timing was everything. Within 24 hours of the images resurfacing, and just before a major sponsor stepped back from Meghan's sustainability series, the institutional gap became obvious. Meanwhile, Meghan's business portfolio faced additional turbulence. Development pauses, partnership reviews, regulatory questions tied to product marketing claims. Online scrutiny intensified across social platforms. The combined impact was significant. The photographs alone sparked debate, but layered with commercial setbacks and renewed focus on past associations, public reaction grew sharper. A former brand collaborator told the BBC, "Public advocacy requires consistency. Silence during controversy invites questions." Inside Windsor, Princess Anne remained unmoved. No spectacle, no retaliation, just structure. In a final internal message later referenced by the Sunday Times, she wrote, "The institution does not survive by chasing narratives. It survives by maintaining standards. No emotional language, no escalation, just policy and structure. We are not in the business of spectacle, nor will we rescue those who traded legacy for leverage. Let the record stand, and let the silence remain." That silence was not weakness. It was judgment. For a woman long known for discipline, devotion to duty, and staying far above public drama, Princess Anne stepped forward as the monarchy's moral compass once again. She didn't shout. She didn't chase headlines. But when she moved, even slightly, it carried weight. To some, it felt like a warning. To others, a reset. To Meghan Markle, it felt like distance turning permanent. On the morning of February 19th, 2026, Princess Anne arrived at Windsor Court in a tailored gray suit, calm, focused, unmoved by the noise swirling outside. No pre-brief, no scripted leak. Just Anne, and she needed no script. Standing before a packed press room, Princess Anne began, "I will speak only once on this matter, and I expect no misinterpretations." The room froze. She addressed the resurfacing of 2016 Balearic Island photographs involving Prince Andrew, images placing him near individuals later tied to the Epstein scandal. Photos that once faded quietly were suddenly global again. Her tone sharpened. "It is unacceptable." He was removed from royal duties with the understanding that he would not further damage what dignity remained. The monarchy's position is unchanged and irreversible. No theatrics, just a line drawn in stone. Then came the question about Meghan Markle's struggling brand. In recent days, several partnerships had reportedly stepped back from "With Love, Meghan," citing reputational pressure. Anne didn't hesitate. Novelty fades, character remains, trust is not inherited, it is earned. Simple, direct, brutal in its clarity. When asked if Meghan was being unfairly targeted because of her royal history, Anne replied, "If a bridge collapses, we examine the structure. We do not blame the river." Message delivered. Behind the scenes, James, Earl of Wessex, coordinated internal reviews as both Andrew's controversy and Meghan's commercial turbulence escalated. Legal assessments were launched, institutional protections reinforced. Anne acknowledged him briefly. "I am proud Prince James has shown not just instinct, but spine. That is what duty looks like, quiet and firm." That wasn't casual praise, that was strategic backing. As the briefing ended, Anne closed with one final sentence. "Redemption is private. Consequences are public." By nightfall, networks replayed her remarks across platforms. Analysts debated every word. The tone had shifted. No longer chaos, but containment. The monarchy wasn't scrambling. It was setting boundaries. And as headlines rolled on, one thing was clear. The storm was no longer circling the crown. It was circling them. If you want more sharp breakdowns like this, subscribe, like, share, and drop your thoughts below. I'll see you in the next one.